It's time to talk Gonzaga basketball.
Get ready.
It's the Spokesman-Review Zags Insiders Podcast.
Here we go.
Here's Jim Meehan and Richard Fox.
Good Monday. Well, I can't say good Monday morning, Foxy. Good Tuesday morning.
I know.
Welcome back to the Zags Basketball Insiders Podcast. We moved her back a day because my flight situation on Monday did not work with our scheduled time, and I'm glad we did because I was delayed about 50 minutes getting out of Spokane. It would have been a nightmare. So anyway, we're back with you, and we've got a heck of a game to talk about from last night. Gonzaga over Alabama, 95-85. Number 12 Gonzaga, soon to move up, depending on what they do the next two games down here in Las Vegas. Could really move up if they win the next two. We'll see what happens if it's a split or 0-2. But Maryland coming up tonight, 6:30 tip again. But Zags remained, battling a little cold here. Zags remained number 3 in the net. Thought they might move up a rung or two over Alabama, which was 17 in the net and 8 in the AP poll. But we'll see. By the end of the tournament here, that could change as well. And then seventh seed overall in Joe Lunardi's latest bracket. Alabama was one spot behind, second seed, 8th overall. So you can imagine them climbing a couple more notches there and getting close to the 1 line. We'll see when Joe Lunardi, ESPN's bracketologist, releases his next set of seedings. But let's get to Alabama, kind of the news of the day. Last night at the MGM Grand Garden Arena, really entertaining game, high-level teams. I kind of got the sense watching it in the first half when Graham was off to a slow start, missed his first 5 or 6 shots. The 3 ball wasn't falling. Alabama was off and doing their thing. LeBaron Philon is just unbelievable what he does on the floor. But you look up and the Zags are down 2 or 3. You know, it's not a 10 or 12 point spread, and you're thinking they can't really play this way. You'd think they would get it going eventually, and that's what happened. The Zags' size, their depth, their offensive rebounding, they just kind of wore down Alabama. Same old story in a lot of ways. You get 20 offensive boards, you get 25 second chance points, you get 52 paint points. That's sort of how you survive another 6 of 22 from distance. Thanks to Steele Venters hitting 4 of 8, his best outing of the year. Pretty impressive showing against a top 10 team last night, Foxy.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm watching that game and I'm thinking, man, they're going to lose just because they can't make a shot from 3. And it was just, I think Gonzaga just overwhelmed them physically, not just with strength, but with their size. And it's as good as Huff and Ike have looked this year together on the floor. Reminded me anyway, of the end of last year where they went to that look and how effective they were together.
Yeah.
It was, just they did just a tremendous job. And then you add on Grant Foster as that, small forward. And I mean, he's such a dynamic athlete, rebounds it at such a high level. I mean, 7 rebounds, but 5 of those are offensive, creating second chance points. He's an efficient scorer when he doesn't take the 3, just 1 of 4 from 3. I presume that as the season goes on, there'll be a better feel there for time and score, when to take one of those 3s and when not. It does feel like at times he'll force them. But that front line combined, Jim, 60 points, 26 rebounds, 12 of which were on the offensive end, shot it better than 50% from the field, 6 assists and only 3 turnovers. In football terms, they won in the trenches. That's me. Their offensive line moved people. It was really an impressive showing from the three of them. And you highlight all the stats I was going to talk about. I mean, points in the plate, Gonzaga plus 10, plus 12 on the glass, plus 7 on offensive rebounds, plus 15 on second chance points. Uh, they just they move people. It was we're bigger, stronger, a bit nastier. We're going to win the game. Despite the fact that they didn't shoot the ball well, I was very happy for Steel Ventures on a personal level, given his story and how long he's had to wait. But it was the first time kind of the proof of concept was there. This is why he's on the team, right? And really, I mean, he missed of the four he missed, a couple were naked threes that, I'm sure if he'd love to have back. He's going to get those types of looks, particularly against these upper end teams that really are going to focus, I think, on trying to slow down Gonzaga in the interior. He just has to stay ready. And Steele does, he's not a stopper, but he's not a liability defensively. I mean, he moves his feet, he knows where to be. He had one steal, only one turnover. He plays within himself. If that's the Steel Ventures they're going to get for the balance of the year, that's a huge piece for them to have. And then finally, I think we both could sense this was the case, but pretty obvious. It's Mario's got the car keys now. And what a remarkable stat line from him. I mean, 10 points, all 10 points coming from the free throw line. Only took 2 shots, but, again, he kind of finds a way to fill the stat sheet up. 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, did have 3 turnovers. But for a young guy in a very fast-paced game, because that's not the pace of play they have overseas, he was comfortable. I thought he did a really good job of knowing when to slow down. He had a great pass inside to Ike where he waited. Ike's there. He could throw it, but he waited just half a second so Ike could take another step towards the basket and delivered a perfect bounce pass. He had 3 or 4 of those that last night that were just really high level and really mature plays. He never got sped up. He never, he had a couple passes that got away from him, but if you didn't know he was a freshman, I think you'd think he's a junior. I mean, he plays with that kind of poise. So, yeah, it was just that's going to be a tremendous win for them. That's a good Alabama team. And it's I think it was one of those games that you and I had circled where we thought, this could be an L, especially early in the year. They're trying to figure things out, but I don't know, man. Maybe the identity of this team is just we're going to kind of beat you up on the glass and we're going to just overwhelm you inside. And if we make threes, then you've got no chance. And if we miss threes, you've got a puncher's chance. I don't know.
Well, and the big two, obviously Graham, Ike, Braden Huff, all the headlines going into the season, deservedly so. I mentioned it in one of the things I wrote last night, that it was the big three last night. Tyon was huge, and he may just make it a big three if he keeps doing things like he did last night. I mean, he's I think Mark Few put it this way: he's a guy who can score when the play breaks down. And plays break down all the time. You can draw it up and it looks great in practice, and you run it against air, and it works every time. And it might work against a lot of teams you play, but when you're playing high level teams, they've got you scouted. They're going to take away things. They're athletic enough to recover all those things. Tyon can get the ball with 6 seconds left, 20 feet from the hoop, and get to the rim or get to the mid range.
The foul.
He can go scoop up that rebound and get the putback. He can do stuff that a lot of their guys can't do. Now, he can't do what Ike and Huff do. He can't probably get it on the low block and score with a post move like those two and that kind of thing. But he is a piece that just gives them such a higher ceiling, and he's good defensively. He does have a little tendency to foul, but boy, he blocks shots, and they need that. They don't get a lot of block shots inside for the most part, and he blocks shots. I think he got a couple last night, and when he gets them, they are volleyball spikes. They are not softly deflected. So he's contributing at both ends.
But, he's like that. He's like that. in football, right? I mean, the big play wide receiver. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a big play guy. It's the block and transition, where he somehow gets his hand on it. I think that was at the end of the half, maybe. Um, Flies in from the wing, catches the lob from Miller, I think it was, dunks it. I mean, these really high level, impactful plays that just insert a jolt of energy, if either change momentum or accelerate the momentum Gonzaga might have. He makes plays that nobody else on the roster can make. Um, and while he's a flawed player with his, really inability to shoot the 3-point shot, he that doesn't slow him down. If he's selected with that part of his game, to Mark's point and the point you're making, he still finds a way to get to the basket, to the mid range, offensive rebound.
Yeah.
Um, he's just yeah, he is. It's remarkable to think if he hadn't gotten eligible, what this team would look like now that you've seen it. Right. I mean, I think had he never played, we'd still be bullish on this group. But now you see him on the floor, and you think, maybe the ceiling for this group is a bit higher, at least for me, than I thought.
Yeah. No question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's 6'7", and he's your
Well, he's
third front.
big. Yeah.
He's 215, 220. He's solid, strong jumper. I mean, he's your third front court guy essentially, and even Alabama. I mean, they can match up, but that's basically your third best defender trying to guard a guy who could be the player of the year in the conference. I mean,
Yeah.
if he plays like this, he's going to be in All America discussions, at
Mhm.
some point because he's a game changer.
Yeah.
But you touched on this a little bit. Mario kind of taking over at point guard, and I think you saw a few things last night that almost made it inevitable that it was heading that way, just because of his style and what he does. I think he brings a kind of a charisma and energy to what they're doing out there. When he gets a rebound, he is gone. He
Yeah.
is, which is, you mentioned it. That's not the style over in Europe, but I think they've already ingrained that into him here. He gets it and he goes. He can. His body is. I mean, he's 6'3". He's very strong, stout
Hmm.
kid for only being 19. But he guards. He
He
can
guards really well. Yeah.
physically. I think they call it. They never called it this when I was young, but leveling off guys on the drive. He can move them without fouling them. He can shift them away from the rim instead of direct line. Big deal. And I think that demeanor, and then this is no way anything against Braden. I feel like Braden Braden Smith has lost time, even though he's played pretty well for the most part, especially distributing and taking care of the ball. But Mario just has some juice to him when he steps on the floor, and I think the rest of those guys kind of feed off that as well. You mentioned we kind of saw this coming. Does he change their ceiling? I think there's some it's trending that way. He plays like an NBA guy in some ways. And I'll tell you, he's got a fan club. There were so many Mario jerseys down here from teams in Spain I can't pronounce, and his past pro teams over there. He had a lot of. His parents are here, but it'll just I thought I walked back last night to the hotel, two guys in front of me with Mario jerseys from overseas. So he kind of makes this team. He almost completes it if he can play like that. I mean, then you've got solid play at every spot on the floor. That ceiling keeps getting higher and higher.
Yeah. Look, I think if you had to pick today, if you had to pick the best NBA prospect today, it would be Mario.
Yeah.
I certainly think, Tyon's going to get a look. I know he's a 5 or 6 year guy in college, but just his physically, he'll get a look. Graham certainly will get a look. And quite a few guys are going to get chances. But Mario, to me, is an NBA guy. The way he moves, he's much better defensively than I think any of us thought he was going to be. I mean, there's a difference defensively in being able to hold up. So Steel Ventures holds up. Mario raises the ceiling of their defense because he can keep quicker guys in front. I mean, no disrespect intended here, but if you think about the last couple of years with Nolan and Ryan and the other guys on that perimeter, their breakdowns were pretty regular. Um, they would have moments, in the game where they would keep guys in front, but there was no consistency to it. And you're going to get beat at times. I mean, everybody gets beat. I don't care who you are, but it's about how often, the frequency of that breakdown. And with Mario, he didn't just hold up against Alabama. His defense had an impact. I mean, he made it real difficult on them. Just he's active. He can because I mean, I think he's probably closer to 6'4". Maybe it's just a head of hair. I don't know, but he can guard up a position or two. In other words, if he's switched on to a bigger player, he can hold up. He just he has a really good feel. He shoots it well. He's just got an energy to him. Um, and a pace to the way he plays. But I was really impressed with it last night, Jim, was that he slowed it down at the right times. And for young players, the game is always fast. And it's a different challenge for young players, depending on your position. But for guards, particularly point guards, the game's going so quickly that you just don't have the processing power yet. It takes some time to start be able to process at that speed and make decisions at that speed. It's not that you don't have the ability, it's just it's taking you longer than it should.
Yeah.
He, given his background, doesn't have that problem. So he doesn't have a processing speed problem. I think the problem or the challenge that I would have identified 3 games ago is sometimes he just gets sped up and plays too fast. He doesn't have a change in gear. You saw it last night. He changed gears.
Yeah.
He'd be, fourth gear, fifth gear, slow it down to third. Just for that half second, let somebody get in position, deliver a good pass. Alabama's pressure did not really bother him at all. He has got a tight handle. I mean, just what a find for this staff. And to keep him committed to coming over. I mean, they've had some of these overseas kids that have committed and then ended up staying, back home. I'm thinking about the Australian kid who subsequently got drafted a couple of years ago in the second round. He ended up being a good player.
Yeah,
Mario.
Yeah,
Mario comes over and um, it's just an interesting thing. Everyone's going to talk about how he's a freshman, but he's really not. If you think about him in basketball years, given what he's experienced overseas, there's no freshman in the country who's played at a higher level before getting to college. Think of it in those terms. He's ready for this moment, and I think the staff agrees. And it's hard for me to imagine a world where he's not the starter the rest of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I really don't think Braden lost the job as much as Mario took it over and has been so impactful.
And look, Braden's important.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen the last couple of years with Ryan, he was so integral to what they were doing. I mean, how many times did we get on this podcast and talk about how Ryan seemed tired? And they don't have to do that. Braden's great coming off the bench, and he offers just a steady hand. I think he'll have games where he knocks down a few shots. He's passing. If you've got foul trouble with Mario, he's just a phenomenal backup, a starter for lots of teams. It's a real luxury that they have is that, so Braden, just because Mario supplanted Braden, at least the perception was Braden would be the starter given the fact he was here for a year, is what he'd done at Colgate. Just because that's no longer the case doesn't mean that his impact, he can't still have an enormous impact on the success of this group. And I would have to think he'll figure that bit of it out. And the staff has done a good job. If you watch it over the last few years, I think they do a much better job today than they did when I played at keeping the group, everyone in the group, tethered together and invested in what's happening. So yes, you may not, your role may not be what you thought it was going to be or what you want it to be, but you're important. And here's why. I think they do a much better job of having those conversations that are authentic and genuine versus I think 25 years ago was very much, okay, this is our rotation. Our focus is on this group. We get the most out of them. And now, guy number 8, 9, and 10, they don't feel connected to what's happening.
Yeah.
I don't think they have that same issue now. I think they do a very good job. And that gives me confidence that Braden's going to have plenty of his own moments this year and going to have a big impact.
No, no question. There are going to be multiple games where Braden is the key guy again and comes through.
Yeah.
He's that good. Well, let's talk about LeBaron Philon before we move on. Alabama guard, 6'4", athletic.
He's pretty good.
Scorer, pretty good player. And then to see it up close, really good player. I thought he kept them in the game at times single-handedly with his scoring ability. He was unstoppable for 30 minutes, but he did not score in the last 9:45-ish or so. Had 3 assists and I think a couple of turnovers in that time. But the Zags kind of switched their coverages up a little bit on him. I think slowed him down and finally got him reined in. But, man, for a while there, I thought the dude was going to score 35 and just carry Alabama to the finish line. What'd you see out of him and what the Zags did to get to him, to slow him down finally?
Well, I mean, that's the profile of player that is going to give Gonzaga some problems. A shifty kind of jitterbug guard who's he changes speeds, really good handle, elevates on his jump shot, 6'4". But I think sometimes you forget it's 40 minutes, and over the course of that period of time, he played 37 minutes last night. There's a wear and tear when Gonzaga has the luxury of switching everything, and whoever's guarding you can guard. And he had some success, and it just seemed to me that attrition over the 40 minutes started to take its toll. There was nobody else kind of really coming along with him, but just a phenomenal player. Going to be a handful for everybody. The type of, like I said at the top, the type of guard that I can see giving Gonzaga some fits. Because Gonzaga's strength defensively is on the wing, and their guys are bigger and longer, and that's a huge advantage. But when you play against a guy like Pylon, who's a bit smaller at 6'4", slender, but has that quickness, that's a challenge, right? I mean, now it's kind of size versus speed. What's going to win? And last night it was size, in my view, that won. But just a really good player. I mean, 7 assists as well. Turned it over more than he would have liked him, obviously, but just gave Gonzaga fits and is going to have a tremendous year.
Yeah, he's a handful. Let's move on to Maryland, tonight's opponent for Gonzaga. Watched the first half at the arena and the second half back at the hotel room. Did not look good for Maryland early. I think they were down at halftime. At one point, I think they were down 6 or 8 in the first half, but they put together a really good second half. I think they scored 47, beat UNLV by 7. The big kid, Farrell Payne, he had been sitting out with a hip injury. He played last night. He played 27 minutes. I think he finished with 20 and 8. That is a Graham EK line if you've ever seen it. 7 of 8 from the field. Big body, big presence there, makes a big difference for him. Miles Rice, the former Washington State Cougar guard, he'd been out too. He had an ankle injury, but he played. I don't think it's long. He's probably not quite all the way back, and Payne probably isn't either. But he played quite a bit. Isaiah Watts, the former Cougar, played quite a bit. So they're closer to full strength. Still a couple of guys out, but Foxy, I don't know if you stayed up to watch that one, but what did you see out of the Terps, or what did your research tell you about the Terps in this matchup tonight?
Yeah, I didn't stay up and watch the game, but I did watch the extended highlights this morning. So that's what makes me such a great analyst.
You're on.
Yeah. So look, they're good on the glass. I mean, they were good on the glass, plus 12 on the glass, 16 offensive rebounds, 18 second chance points. I think with Payne and some of their other frontline players, their guards rebound well too. It'll be a good test for Gonzaga on the glass. They struggled taking care of the ball. I think part of that was UNLV has that zone that they run that I think gave them some problems. I don't know if I can't imagine Gonzaga is going to zone, but I'm sure you could take away from that and maybe you throw that in as a wrinkle just because of the way they struggled against UNLV. They had 15 assists to 20 turnovers. And they were a mixed bag shooting the ball, 3 of 15 in the first half, 6 of 16 in the second half. Um, they've got real players. I mean, and
They
they
do.
a lot like Gonzaga. I mean, older guys who've got some experience. Payne, previous at Minnesota, Texas A&M. He's really good around there. He has never taken a 3-point shot, but he's shooting 74% to start this year. But his career is 65%. So I mean, he's at 6'9", 250. He's got real size. Attacks the offensive glass. About 2.5 a game. That'll be a really interesting matchup with Graham. Um, you mentioned Miles. Yeah, only a couple games this year, but Rice and Watts, people are going to be familiar with how they play, what they do. But a lot of experience for both those guys at this level. Um, the thing that I think I forget about all the time, but we should remember is, this is the first year Rice has played at Maryland. Same for Watts. So, and you got a new coaching staff. So it just takes time for all of this stuff to come together. Um, and you think about Rice in particular, WSU in Indiana, now Maryland is playing. I mean, those are distinctly different ways of playing.
Mm-hmm.
So, you don't necessarily know how he's going to fit in, what his role is going to be, but you know that he's talented. And he can shoot the ball at a pretty high level. And they've got the young freshman, Darius Adams, McDonald's All-American, has not shot the ball well to start the year, 4 of 30, but he's a dynamic guard, 6'5", 175. Um, he's just an explosive type of player. I'll be interested to see how he functions out there against Gonzaga tonight,
Mm-hmm.
just with Gonzaga's size. And it's a quick turnaround for these guys, too. I mean, they played late. I mean, I saw somewhere the tip-off was midnight on the East Coast.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I remember we played Georgia in Atlanta when I was a junior, and I think the tip was I can't remember. Whatever it was, tip was 9 a.m. So we had to get up at like 4 a.m. our time. So like, I'm talking like our time. So the first half we get blown out like 20 some odd points. I mean, we're half awake. And then I think we outscored them in the second half, and it didn't look quite as bad as it was. But that's no joke. I mean, it's not as if Maryland's been there for 4 days. I can't imagine to get ready and adjust to the time zone. And now you got to turn around. You're playing. What time's tip today? 6:30.
Same tip time, yeah. 6:30.
Yeah, and you've got a couple guys in Payne and Rice who are coming back from injury. It'll be interesting to see, um, how fresh they look. But that's a really well. I mean, the coaches. Why is the coach's name escaping me, Jim?
Buzz Williams, yeah.
Thank you, Buzz. I mean, he's a very good coach, so they're going to be prepared. They'll have a plan. They knew they were going to play Gonzaga, so it's not as if they've got one day to prepare. They'll have some wrinkles. And Gonzaga's going to have to work, I think, tonight to win, but they should.
Yeah, I kind of look at it like the Zags are probably better equipped to deal with, a 24-hour turnaround than Maryland, just from the health standpoint and the depth standpoint. I think Maryland actually has depth, but they do have a couple of guys out still that probably cuts into that. And when you got guys coming off of injury that played pretty big minutes, you always kind of wonder what they're going to feel like at 8 a.m. the next day. Usually they're pretty sore in that first game back, but if Maryland plays the way they played in the second half, this will be very interesting tonight. I mean, Payne was a presence down there. He really is built just like EK. He's a big, strong kid in there, and gives them something they haven't had when he's been out of the lineup. They got another kid that's really interested. I think his nickname is Diggy Coit, who I think he put 41 up in their game before against Mount St. Mary's before they traveled out here. Hit a bunch of threes, and he was kind of, his shot was off a little last night, but man, he hit a couple of threes down the stretch that really helped him, and they were shot with extreme confidence. Another kid who's played a lot of basketball.
Yeah. Transfer from Kansas.
I don't know what he's listed at. He might be 5'9".
They're
but
listed at 5'11", 175.
yeah,
Played at Kansas last year, off the bench the whole year.
yeah,
Shooting the ball really well. Coming into the game last night, was shooting 53%, 19 of 36 from the three-point line. Now, he didn't. She only shot 3 of 10 against UNLV, but um, you know, the best way to play is to make the three-point shot. So, if you're making threes at a 50% clip, I don't care how tall you are. So he's certainly a guy that they're going to have to stay tethered to. That'll be an interesting matchup for Mario, just given the size discrepancy, and
yeah,
Coit's quick and has some experience and can stretch it out. Um, yeah, I mean, this is the fun thing about these tournaments in a way, right? It does have it does feel a little bit like the NCAA tournament or conference tournament, right? These quick turnarounds, and Gonzaga's been really good at that for a long, long time. I would
yeah,
expect that to be the case tonight too.
yep. Let's move on to a couple of topics before we get out of here on a Tuesday. I'm having trouble remembering that, Foxy. A Tuesday. Players Era Festival. I wrote an article in today's paper I got with Chris Standiford, Gonzaga's AD. Got a few thoughts from him on this tournament. It's kind of the new wave, the new normal in today's day and age of college basketball. It's 18 teams, an unusual number. There are plans to go to 32 teams next year, and it's a healthy payout. Reportedly, $1 million per team to be here. Apparently, there's $1 million to the winner of this tournament if you get to the finish line, to the winner's circle. In this day and age, every school on the planet, especially the ones who want to compete at the highest level, that's the increasingly the name of the game. NIL money and how much you can raise and how it influences your roster. The flip side is it's really made it hard on the battle for Atlantis, Maui Invitational, which is kind of the granddaddy of them all over at in Hawaii. Just a wonderful tournament. Both of them
Hmm.
wonderful tournaments, great fields, iconic settings, memorable games. Rui and BC against Duke, knocking off number one. Heck, I can remember Robert Sacre, Stephen Gray against Cincinnati. All of them, all those games, memorable. But they're drawing teams that used to go to smaller events. They're not getting the biggest name teams anymore. It's kind of the way business is done, whether you like it or not. There's plenty on both sides that like it or don't like it. How do you weigh in on that, Foxy? You're a guy. I don't know. Did you get to Maui? I think you
Oh
did
yeah.
one trip,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So
it
you
was
got
great.
to Maui. You got to experience that. That is one of the most unique places and settings. That gym, is like a junior high gym in Spokane. But man, what a place to play. How do you kind of balance the good and bad of all this?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question first. I mean, is there a winner of this tournament? Because you're kind
There
of in your own
technically would be
pod.
a winner, yeah. There's a whole bunch of tiebreakers, goes all the way down to your AP ranking if
Yeah.
things are knotted up,
So,
points
so
scored.
so there really isn't a winner then.
Yeah, not a
You know,
true winner, but yeah,
yeah.
there will be somebody walking off with a little paycheck. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's fine. How do I feel about it? Um, I don't like it.
Your hesitation tells me things.
Well, I guess, man, my honest feel is this, or my honest view of it is this. It's fine. It's great even. That was a great game last night. And if you're a Gonzaga fan, that's the game you want them to play. And you're
Yeah.
on TV, and it's on TNT with guys who call the tournament. It felt different.
Mhm.
Now there's not a lot of people in the stands, at least it didn't look that way. But nonetheless, at home, it was great. Um, but I think what rubs me the wrong way about all of it is that the message that I get from as a consumer and fan of college sports, but in this case, college basketball, is the message that I'm receiving is don't believe your lying eyes. This is still college sports. Look how cool this is. We've got our cheerleaders, our band. Um, Here's this quaint story about, this player. Um, our university does ABC. Our kids are in the community. But really, what I'm watching is professional sports, and
It's
that
hard to get used to. It's hard to get used to.
I just don't like how disingenuous it is. Like, let's just own it. Hey, this is the new way that this works. We need to raise money in order to be competitive with the best teams in the country. So we get exposure for our kids. Okay. We get exposure for our program. That's what we're talking about. We get money to pay our players, lots of it, because it's getting real expensive to put these teams together. And then we just go on our way. And then we want to win games
Yeah.
because that means more money, and we can keep this train rolling. It's just disingenuous to me. And this tournament is a perfect example of that. So just own it. That's my honest view. Like the Maui Invitational was an incredible experience in my life. We went 1-2, but we got to play Indiana and Kentucky and I think Utah. And then the tournament's over on Wednesday. We spent all of Thanksgiving Day in Maui, body surfing, dinner as a team with our families. When we get on a flight, we come home. I had a tan in January because I got so sunburned. But that time together as a group was just really special, and it was a lot of fun, and it was different, and it was something you could only do every 4 years, and there was like an exclusiveness to it. And now I just think it's sad those tournaments eventually are going to go away.
Or
Because if it's
adapt. They're going to have to adapt and evolve, which I don't know if
right,
they can do it. I don't know.
and yeah, so I just it feels like there are people in some room that know what this resolution is going to be when they're finally just going to stop pretending that it's what it used to be and
Yeah.
just tell us all what it actually is. And the sooner that can happen, the sooner I'll enjoy the product in the same way I probably
Yeah.
used to enjoy it. So it's fine. There's no bad people here. There's not like this is some evil force that, is ruining something that I have memories of watching college basketball with my father, right? I mean, I've always watched college basketball. My son now watches it with me. It's a great thing, but it feels disingenuous, and it feels, um, I don't know. It's just disappointing. Like, just own it. Own what it is. You're in this. This tournament was put together for TV, just so somebody can make a bunch of money on TV money. These teams are here because they want to play against good teams and they want to make a lot of money while they do it because their rosters are expensive.
Yeah.
These kids make a lot of money. This is professional sports. Anybody and every effort to make it feel, sound, look like it used to be to me is just distasteful. Let's stop doing that part of it. Let's just own the fact that every team in this tournament has a salary cap. How much could I raise? Or what's our budget? And then we allocate it among our players in the way that we elected to do that. And now this is the team we built, like a professional sports team does. And this is the schedule in front of us. And we're going to see how well we do. And then you know what's going to happen? Next year, we're going to do it all over again. So, sorry, that's my soapbox. I see these statements about, money's part of it, but it's, that's certainly not the driving factor. And I'm like, don't believe your lying eyes, people.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's not about the money's part of it, but that's not what drives our value proposition is not money. It is about the welfare of our student athletes. I'm not sure the language we can use on this podcast, but that is
Horse feathers.
Yeah, worse than that. Sorry, I'm done now. I'm done. Yeah.
No, well, look, A, the money, B, the competition, hand in hand. You want to play, Gonzaga wants to play these teams. They might play Alabama, Maryland, and Houston, or Kansas, or whoever, Iowa State. I don't know how it'll work out. They need to play those teams. They're not going to play them in Maui or the Bahamas anymore. Those matchups aren't there. So that's just kind of how it is. To Chris's Stanford's credit, he That's what he pointed out: the money and the competition. This is the place you have to go to get to play those teams. And what it does for their budgets is important. It's huge. As he said, anytime we can raise money without, tapping into our boosters and fans, that's huge. Because they're asking for more of that. Every school is asking for more of that in this day and age. I did ask him about, there's been some speculation that Gonzaga's committed to the next two players there at tournaments, and he stopped short of saying that was done. I think they've kind of left some wiggle room there if they want to change course. But if things stay the same and the tournament goes to 32 teams and the payouts continue to probably elevate, unless this, unless those checks don't get cut here in a couple of weeks to the teams, and there's some cracks in the foundation down here, I tend to think the Zags will be here. We'll see how it turns out. But 32 teams, 32 high-powered teams. There's never been a tournament like that. The only thing I can even think that kind of approaches 18 teams was the Phil Knight tournament in Portland, when they had, I think, 16 teams, and they got all the Nike schools. It was, North Carolina's, and I think Duke was out there, the Zags, Florida Tech. You get all the big names, big brands. But this is a high-level semi-pro tournament. That's what it is. The players and schools are making money just like you would in a professional setting. But that's how it is. Old guys like me, it's so different than what I'm used to covering for 40 years. Well, 35 years. The last 5 have been very different. It takes some time to get used to it. It really does. And I'm not sure I am used to it. I'm not sure the coaches out there are used to it. You've seen quite a few of them step down to, that were still in their primes. They stepped away from coaching, because of this.
So I have friends who are in college basketball, and this is not coming from anybody at Gonzaga staff. They tell me that something to this effect: I didn't get into this profession for what it is now.
Yeah.
I got into it because I love the game and I love coaching, team building, culture, and now the first thing that you talk about. This is according to my buddies who coach in other leagues, is what's your NIL budget and what are you thinking for NIL payout? And they tell me it's just so disheartening, right? I mean, they're just calling a kid for the first time, or their coach or their parent. They don't know this person. They have no relationship with this recruit. They're just introducing themselves, and that is after the required pleasantries that take 30 to 45 seconds. It's boom, immediately. And I don't think people got into coaching to deal with that.
At this level, for sure.
And everything, the way everything is defined is just ridiculous. And name, image, and likeness. No, I'm paying you to play basketball for us. It's got nothing to do with your name, your image, or your likeness. This is the transfer portal. That is called free agency in professional sports. Right. But it's all of this, don't believe your lying eyes, guys. It's not, look, it's just the transfer portal. No one likes it, but no, it's free agency for everybody. NIL is not, I'm not paying you because you're a good looking kid and might do some commercials. I'm paying you to play for us. This is called a salary. And I think, clearly a lot of people have gotten out of it because it's just distasteful, or it's not what they wanted to do, or they felt like it maybe changed the competitive prospects for their program or for them as coaches. I think all of that is true. But it would make it a lot easier for these coaches if it was just honest and you had real contracts with players where where you had a buyout provision. Like, let's
I
make this
think they do.
professional.
I think they do have provisions in
Do,
those deals
do
now
they
where
now
it's
have all
like, if
that?
you don't do this, you're not getting this. I think they
Right,
do.
but it's so opaque. Like, how is
Yes.
this not public information? I mean, Gonzaga is a private university. Certainly, that's not going to happen unless they elect to do that. But I mean, how is Alabama's quote unquote NIL budget not public knowledge? I mean, you're going to have players on that roster that make more money than anybody other than probably the head coach of the football team in, in at the University of Alabama.
Yeah.
What's the contract that you're signing with that player? Like, that's what makes professional sports kind of interesting, right? It's like, oh, this player from my team signed a 3-year deal at this much money. What does that do to our salary cap? All right, we want to trade that, we want to cut that player, whatever it is. So yeah, I would have to think. I mean, for a lot of, I would love to ask a coach, what percentage of your time today is dedicated to NIL
Hmm.
related functions versus
Watching
and
tape,
then
recruiting.
because of that allocation of your time, yeah, where has what you used to do been cut down? And that would be just a fascinating question to ask these guys. And if they gave honest answers, it'd probably be that, yeah, we do a lot less of this or that or the other because we spend so much time, having these conversations. I don't know.
No, you're right.
I sound really crotchety and old.
Yeah. Well, I got
And,
you beat there. I sound
but
beyond
it's just
crotchety
different,
and old.
man. Different.
Well, and like you say, well said as always, Foxy. But like you say too, like the college teams, football teams, technically have general managers. That's what they are. They are. Here's what we're budgeting our offensive linemen. Here's what we're budgeting our running backs, our 2 receivers, and this descending scale of how much we can spend. I mean, they literally have that. I'm assuming college basketball teams have some type of coordinator this is our figure. This is what we can go for one guy. This is what we can go for a starting player. This is what we can go for a reserve. It is a whole new world from what I lived in those first 35 years of my career. So anyway, Foxy, good stuff as always,
Yeah.
and always good to pick your brain on topics. Love that back and forth.
You too, buddy. You too.
So anyway, let's wrap it up. You can catch this pod. Excuse me for my voice again. Catch this pod wherever you find your pods out there in podcast land. Sorry we're a day late. I think we'll be back on schedule next Monday. Should have a lot to talk about with the results of this tournament. Next game, I believe on the schedule, I haven't looked, but memory serves, is Kentucky in Nashville, December 5th, I want to say. So we'll have a lot to talk about with that. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next Monday.